Trust is not easily earned, and neither is it given comfortably. Think for yourself. How many people have you truly trusted? Some of you may say your family or friends, but are you really sure about that? Or how about your USB stick? Will it go in on the first try? Or once you flip it? No, you simply cannot be sure when it will go in. And Phantom Liberty made me almost as paranoid as the USB stick about anything and everything the character said after I found out that the NUSA president, President Myers, casually raised a place in Ecuador and decided that a simple PR campaign could smooth that over after having failed to cover it up. So, with the leader of V's country already being this untrustworthy, just imagine how unbelievably hard it would be to trust the people from Dogtown. If you thought vanilla Cyberpunk would make you make some difficult decisions, good lord, you haven't seen anything yet. In the beginning of this expansion, you are called out of nowhere by Songbird, and are told that she and Myers are on a crash course right into Dogtown, and as Dogtown is kind of like the Night City of Night City, any sort of higher up is in mortal danger. She wants you to aid them both in getting out of Dogtown in return for a cure for the relic. V, using Personality 2 for Friend Group 1 more and more without wanting to, of course jumps on the opportunity to get a cure, albeit with some hesitation. And here the trust issues began for me. During this entire expansion, a theme was not just put in front of me, but rather bashed into my face repeatedly with such a force as if I was a blind person and needed to figure out the words trust issues in Braille, but only dot by dot with each hit. I never was able to fully relax whenever I was doing a gig, a side job, or the main gig, as every mission requires you to question something or someone. And I personally thought spy thrillers would be really easy to get through if I was put in that same situation. Good lord, did I turn paranoid, holy shit. So when this random netrunner that gave us the shock of our life just pops up with the promise of a miracle cure while dragging us to the most dangerous part of Night City, it of course would make V desperate to follow through on just a promise, because what else can V do at this point? The alternative would be a nice self-flatlining endeavor, or actually self-flatlining. So with nothing but hope in the words of this netrunner, who was able to not only disrupt the relic that stores Johnny, but interact with Johnny too, V has no choice but to put their trust into Songbird. And so you descend into this constant battle for your trust. This constant conflict is currently crushing your conscience. Who do you trust? Who can you trust? Who should you trust? Let's start with the inciting mindfuck, I guess. During the very beginning of this expansion, when you and President Myers run from the Barghest soldiers, you eventually get to this one exhibit. An old museum of what could have been, had Colonel Hansen not done a hostile takeover of this area. In this area, Songbird keeps criticizing President Myers, and not in the usual snarky, lighthearted way you would expect in Cyberpunk. It feels personal, as if Songbird had a score to settle. I'm sure most people picked up on it, but I don't know, it made me suspicious of Songbird at first, thinking she may be a soon-to-be traitor. This is why I started being more cautious of her, but then the things she mentioned about Myers were also not entirely helping me with wanting to aid the president. But then again, if Songbird was a traitor, should I trust her? Can her words be trusted? See where this is going? Just imagine my peanut brain trying to process this. I got paranoid, let me tell you. A short time before, I found a lore entry that mentioned the aforementioned Ecuador raising incident. So there was certainly something to Songbird's criticism. But in 2077, would that be so out of the ordinary? Should that be a reason for me to distrust the head of the NUSA? Wanna know what does make me distrust the NUSA president? She did not have to change her clothes for 12 years. What the actual hell, man? Maybe the raising occurred through her raising her arms and unleashing some chemical warfare, like holy shit, man. I know this may just mean she didn't have to wear another set of clothes, but just for the sake of my narrative, just go with it, okay? Myers also then just out of nowhere decides to make you a federal agent. Some of you may think, oh, what is so bad about being a federal agent directly under the command of the president? Like, do you truly understand what I just said? The president makes you a federal agent after knowing you for almost like, what, 10 minutes? You, a merc. From Night City. Myers on some level has to be some kind of smart. She knows not to trust you to this degree. No one with a sane mind and some bare bones knowledge of Night City would. So why does she do that? Simple. Manipulation. She wants you to feel like she values you as an asset. Wrap you around her cybernetically enhanced finger. Having you on her side, thinking you are truly someone of value to her and not just a ticket out of Dogtown, turns you into a non-issue. Cause why would you turn on the person that not only is essentially the boss of everyone, but thinks highly of you? It is a clear sign of narcissism. Maybe you can even get some sort of help from her with the relic because she is the president. If anyone had the resources and connections to do so, it would be her. But just think about it for a second. She gave you a kind of gift to put up a facade of generosity and kindness while just seeking to put you on a leash. Johnny even calls us out. Taking the oath amounts to nothing. As Johnny experienced firsthand, all the fancy talk is thrown away the moment it gets dicey. And he is more right about that than he may know, as the moment she realized Songbird is going against her orders, she tries to eliminate Songbird by breaking several laws just to get her, and not even caring about the collateral damage. She even enlists Reed to do so, someone whom she left for dead and misconstrued the events of his death by telling everyone that he turned traitor and switched to Arasaka's side. Look up the definition of a narcissist and you will find a picture of President Myers. But thankfully, Myers is so absent from the conflict that realizing her deceitful nature is pretty simple. But it gets harder if you look at Reed, for example. Reed is a man with principles. He will not backstab you, he will not lie to you, technically, and he will honor his words. The reason why he is not trustworthy to me, even before he didn't refuse Myers' arrest order towards the end of the expansion, is because he will lie to you by omission. When taking care of the Netrunner twins, you are told you will essentially just take them away and assume their personalities. The word kidnap is used in this context specifically, but in the end, they just end up murdering them. They, Reed and Alex, do have good reasons to do so, those being the twins could just rat them out afterwards, and, well, they're Netrunners. Them being locked up does not make it safe to be around them. But the matter at hand is that they just had this planned without making it clear to V. Or, way before that, he decided to kill the two only allies that V and Myers made just because they may be a liability. He again just decided to do so without discussing it with anyone. How can one trust someone who keeps doing his own thing even though you are supposed to be a team? What would one do if, once you do deliver him Songbird, he just decides to off you as well? Sure, he doesn't do that in the story, but he would be capable of it. Especially with his my way or no way mindset. Reed has the compulsion to be right or do the right thing from his perspective. This again could be seen as a form of narcissism. He truly believes that his way of doing things is the only way to do it right, and he refuses to budge on that matter. Even Songbird's betrayal, where she got him shot, did not have the effect on him than one would think it would have. Instead of wanting to go after Songbird for revenge, or at least wanting to know why, he blames himself for it, saying he wasn't there for her when she needed him. He truly believes only his actions could have changed what happened. And it is not just Songbird he feels responsible for. He feels responsible for everyone he works with. And while it sounds like that is a good thing, It also shows how he feels himself to not even be the biggest cog in the machine, but rather the engineer that builds and maintains the machine, since he thinks without him it would all go to shit, which, again, is a certain type of narcissism. And to go even further with this point, he is still loyal to the NUSA, even though they tried to get rid of him and sully his name so no one would dig deeper, because he believes working with them is how he can save everyone. He is so hung up on his past and his own attempt at getting away from everything, he can no longer even conceive of the idea that not everyone wants to be shackled to the NUSA like he now is. And sadly, in my playthrough, that was his undoing. Solomon Reed was a good man, one of the few characters I would call good. Not lawful good, but like neutral or chaotic good. He really wants the best for people, and he knew the best was to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Do you see what I did there? Yeah? Okay, anyway. He really wanted the best for people, even though it may be coming from a sort of arrogance. But he did not deserve the end he got. If he had seen past his own trauma, past his own principles, he could have saved Somi and gained the freedom he wished for 7 years ago. But he couldn't. And the only fight I truly did not want to engage in began. It ended quickly, but in that one moment I felt incredible regret. A sadness that a good yet flawed man had to die because he wanted to do good, but only through his own means. He did what he could for Somi, which is why it kills me to say that one should trust Somi the least, and is less deserving of the life I got her in my playthrough than Reed. Don't get me wrong, I fully understand Somi's reason for doing what she did, as her plight is something that V can understand very well, but to an extent the audience, the player, too. Song So-mi was essentially forced into servitude by Reed. She engaged in illicit activities of the "I'm in" variety and was almost killed for hacking into Militech data fort, only to be saved by Reed, who saw potential in her. Well, saved in quotation marks, as he may or may not have used her being hunted by Militech and thus endangering her family as blackmail to make her join the FIA. And I'm sure you or someone you know was in a bad situation and really had no other choice but be forced to accept some outcome that you were far from happy with, but had to accept simply because the alternative would be disastrous. Somi resented this life, even taking the Medal of Honor she got and giving it to a homeless man. The accolades and accomplishments meant nothing to her. All she wanted was to be free again. Something she could never be, as her natural talents as a netrunner made her into the right hand of President Myers. She was so deeply interwoven with the FIA that leaving was simply not an option. So, she conceived a plan to rid herself of Myers and the FIA, as at this stage Myers had started using Somi to tap into the Black Wall, a supremely important digital lock that held back rogue AIs of inconceivable power, which, of course, would take a toll on Somi, forcing her to replace her body with more and more cybernetic implants, and in the end gave her a cyber STD, which slowly started to kill her. This plan began with getting rid of Myers, and so she made a deal with Kurt Hansen, the current leader of the Barghest and top dog of Dogtown, to aid her in getting away from Myers by giving him Myers in return. By the time you get around halfway through the DLC, you found out that the promised Panacea is a self-evolving trapped AI that can be used to stop the AI STD and the relic. And once you actually get your hands on this self-evolving AI, you get the choice to betray Reed or betray Songbird. I chose to betray Reed, since he seems a bit too loyal to the NUSA president, who is, not the best person? And Songbird is in a similar situation as V. Since V desperately searched for someone to aid them, it would be hypocritical to not be that one person for Songbird. Even though I was already quite suspicious of Songbird because she kept changing the story. At first she said she could help us with the relic. Then the rogue AI could help us with the relic. and now it is a clinic in orbit. So I became wary, but due to my before-mentioned reasoning, I still chose to help her. This naive trust I put into Songbird at first seemed like a bittersweet choice to me. Yes, we are getting closer to being saved, but we are betraying baby boy Reed. Plus, I mean, have you seen that airport section? Tapping into the black wall and frying the minds of the NUSA and airport forces is such an awesome moment. Like, holy shit, bro. I'm literally firing my lasers. It is one of the most amazing... No, it is the most amazing set piece during my playthrough and offers such a high that the reveal that Somi lied yet again hits so much harder. She reveals that not only does the clinic only expect one person, but that once the self-evolving AI is used, there won't be a cure for V. She knew this from the very beginning. She knew V was a dead person walking, but still kept dangling the carrots so she could get away. This was the moment where I heavily considered just ending her there. Give her up to the FIA and get away with a new ending. But I didn't. As if this was V, I'm not sure I would have done something different. Again, we do understand her plight. We know the fear of a construct slowly killing us with no hope of salvation. So I yet again decided to be the one person that would bring her the salvation and freedom she so desperately longed for. And aside from the main characters causing these trust issues, a lot of the side jobs and gigs also include the theme of trust and, well, it subsequently being broken. Take the father of the allegedly law-abiding son. He tells V that he was forced into giving a false statement to the DA to incarcerate his son as an example for other criminals. Upon further investigation, he found out that the father, just like the son, are both pieces of shit. The son is a major criminal, and the father sold out his son for money, and then didn't want his son to figure out he sold him out. In the end, V was just being used as a pawn by everyone. And everyone was just betraying each other to further their own goals. Dogtown was a place where people went to get a second chance. A place where the NCPD and Night City could not persecute them. A place where they could get a clean slate, and a place that would arguably protect them even better than the NCPD ever could, seeing as way more security roams the streets. It may not be perfect, and I may just look at the added security from one perspective and not the horrible police state perspective, but it is the sentiment that the people of Dogtown share. They trust the Barghest more than the NCPD, which I do believe may even be the right choice here. But quite honestly, who am I to tell you who to trust? After all, the only person you can trust is looking right at you.